Welcome back, friends on the internet. My name, of course, Zach Kinsella. I am a comic artist and illustrator. We are talking the art of toys, baby. That's what this channel is all about. If you haven't been here yet, welcome. We're going to get into it. We are talking McFarlane toys. Violator. He is evil. He is heavy. He's a little spiky, so you kind of got to watch where you hold him. I am excited for this figure. I found him randomly at Target, and I thought, dude, super metal figure. Perfect for Spooktober. He is a monster, and we are going to do a deep dive into the art and design of this figure. So if you've never been to the channel, I talk art and design of action figures and toys. That's my groove. I do 3 episodes of brand new figures and then 1 episode of retro figures every month. With the McFarlane Violator, I had to just scoop this bad mamma jamma up. Spawn, when I was a teenager, was my jam. Spawn still in a lot of ways is my jam. So I just got the volume 1 of the collected edition, kind of been reliving that life. Just super into it. So I think now that Spawn figures are back and they're super articulated and they're really well put together, like I can't really hold this well with one hand, right? I've got like that two-fisted here. So we're talking Violator. He's going to be awesome. He is awesome. I had the original bendy Violator. I'll get into a little story about that later too. So if you're not familiar with it, you will be soon. Evil approaches. Yeah, big spiky boy Violator. I had the original Violator figure, which was kind of like a bendy figure, half action figure thing in the 90s. So I found this one in the store pretty recently, and I did not originally think about picking them up. And then like you hold them and like look at them, and I was like, hey, this thing easily won me over. No buyer's remorse, just one freaking awesome gnarly figure. So thinking about him here, we're going to talk about head to toe design. Hopefully you can see him well enough because he's very, very dark. Perfect for evil. Right? So I'm going to do a turnaround of him to start off. We'll talk about the theme of the figure as far as like paint and sculpt goes. Deco, all those kind of good things. I'll do a little size comparison so you can see how big he is. Really the thing you're going to miss out the most on is the heft. Like, 2 things about this figure is when you hold him, how heavy he is and how much he kind of hurts to hold. He's like, keep him on your shelf as much as you can. He did come with that as one of those Spawn like little display stands, but it's like me standing on a quarter. He's huge, right? So I'll show you some different spots here for him. I'm going to take him into like a little autofocus here so I don't lose the good light here. So let's bring it up so you can still see him. I can still see him. Perfect. So front view, he's got it hunched over. He's super humongous, whatever words you want to use to get the whole bad boy in the picture. He's huge. Like I said, not quite like Toy Biz Build-A-Figure huge, but right up there. I'll put him on the side here so you can see all his sweet spikes on his back and how they look in 3D. Man, the Gauntlet Arm thing is just... Oh, I love all the bone protrusions. We'll turn him around to his backside. Like I said, he's chunky. I have not been to the gym in 300 years, so we'll talk about that later. So, nice little turnaround of our boy, the Violator. Perfect for Spooktober, I thought. bringing in some of those 90s vibes, but also with a nice 2020 update. What I will say, before we get into themes over this figure, is that, like, I think McFarlane really tapped into his artistic side with these figures. And I can, as a comic artist, comics are increasingly difficult to make every time you start one. They are the greatest accomplishment in the world when you finish one. I will say that. So that's the benefit. But you just keep going. So sometimes you don't have time to breathe. And I feel like with figures, you get a little bit more of that instant satisfaction, when you can play. It's a different art form. It really is. And that's what this channel is all about, right? But seeing McFarlane put so much of his design aesthetic into different figures, like how he would have made a Batman. I just got his Wonder Woman. And shout out to that figure. She's amazing. But like seeing how he comes in and seeing how he expresses himself in his own creations. And I've always been a big fan of Todd McFarlane's art style, even more so these days. Just because the man, like back in the early 90s, that, it wasn't cartoony, but it was like exaggerated so much. And he went so wild. One of my favorite comics issues is a Sideways, like X-Force comic. And the one that became before that is the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man comic, where the X-Force and Spider-Man are all fighting the Juggernaut. And I thought his facial expressions are so good. And just how insane the Juggernaut is. And that's some of my love for McFarlane. So I just wanted to preface this chit-chat about like a McFarlane original creation with some of that. I think it's Spider-Man. I can't remember what number it is. Might be Spider-Man number 8. Might be X-Force number 8. Somewhere in there. It's, those were huge influences on my work back in the 90s. So it's nice to see this taken to another level, still retaining the same McFarlane style and in an action figure 3D format. I don't think this is easy to accomplish. There are definitely times when, like, I look at him trying to do the Batman animated Bruce Timm style figures, and the DC Direct, I think they did a better job. Although Bruce Timm's style doesn't really lend to 3D and like having a figure stand up, so it's a little subjective on that matter too. But they got the head sculpts down of those Batman and Superman animated series figures, but of the 4 they've released, I've really had no one to grab them. They're much larger scale than my other Batman the animated series figures, but going from the page, the art, to 3D, I think McFarlane really excels at that. And when it goes from animation to 3D format, I'm here and there with it. I'll just be super honest with y'all. So, long preamble, I understand, but let's get into our Violator, right? Make him just a little bit brighter. So, the thing from top to bottom, what to know about this figure, he is like all browns and grays. Take us in just a hair further so you can see what he looks like. He is prone to falling down. Just want you to know that as we kind of come into this. So we'll kind of take a look inside and some of his. So I'm going to move this around just slowly, just so you can see some of the scale work, and I'll get into that in just a few moments here. As far as like, I just wanted y'all to see like what he looks like coming back out here. From the top, I'm going to bring him in nice and close. So when you look at him nice and close, the red in his eyes really pops out, and it starts to follow down into his jaw, his big like mouth cavity there. But the eyes are really what have always stood out about the Violator. It's got those weird fly eyes that is, when we think of like dead bodies and gross demonic things, you think of the fly and like flies being around dead animals and whatnot. So it adds an extra layer of creepiness here. So he has like basically a very, very limited color palette. I want to talk about that. There's like, some of the bone white, some of the creams that go into these bones and the teeth. There's some very much like greenish grays, brownish grays through the top here, through the horns and the face and the body as well. But kind of like these creams really pop in and around on some of the bones, so they matched what's coming out of there. And they did like a little spray paint around there just to be like, it's not blood that would leak out, it's some kind of like, again, like white ooze. So that's kind of the impression that I get over here, coming over here. It's the same with his claws and the bone protrusions back behind over here. I'm going to push him down. Hopefully he won't fall on his face. If he does, we have creative editing here at Toy Art Central. And so that's really the first thing I want y'all to be aware of, is that there's just not many color palettes. This is all sculpt, really. So, like, as big and as chunky as he must have been, to make, the paint application is very subtle. So as we talk about that paint application, I'm going to bring him up just a hair closer and turn him so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Like I said, lots of brownish grays coming through here. What's also nice is that, like, that paint fills in right over in here at where the joints meet. There's not a whole lot of like luster loss there, so you can have a nice posable figure without seeing like weird inseams and joints. But what I really love about this is like all this like weird bubbly, scaly, like rock features on here. It's just, A, it's kind of gross, B, it's kind of awesome. So I was like, yeah, that triggers my like the tryptophobia stuff when you see like the little pinhole circles. Like my head is itching right now. I'm going to try not to let key all into that. So other things you'll see over here, like on his gauntlets, he's moving. Gauntlets, arms, whatever you want to call them. Move them down just a hair here. So you can see what's really cool is like he does have like armor made out of like all these rocks and bones protruding out of there. And they kind of went with the same theme with the dark side figure, right? Which was really cool. I thought the dark side from McFarlane, which is like Batman Dark Side, like whatever. It was really awesome. Like they don't mess around with the sculpture, and it's like part, like if you look up here, it's like part rock, part pachyderm. That's what it reminds me of, and I really think that's a nice like standout like motif. Is that it's like it has the same texture as like something familiar, but also something from the depths of hell. And that is not an exaggeration, right? That's exactly who the Violator is supposed to be. And he is just honking huge. I love how he is just hunched over and mean looking, but like in the comics and the stuff, like, he was very lithe, very skinny, very like Slender Man-esque before there was Slender Man. And now he's decided to be like, yes, I'm wicked and evil, but I also have the build of Brock Lesnar. So I'm even more terrifying. And I was like, yeah, something this big and muscular running down an alley at me, 0% into this idea at all. So he just exudes evil, frankly, and I think they knocked it out of the park. So coming back around the backside here, like what an amazing backside. And I don't say that a lot about a lot of figures out here, but this one does. You see some of like the bones starting to protrude, from here. The joints are pretty well hidden up top and around over here. In fact, one of these bone spurs is like camouflaging the actual joint there. Which I think is really cool. Like, I'm not really particular about it. I didn't get particular about it till recently, but it's neat when it happens, and that they can cover these things up and make it look for like one seamless figure. Like I said, this is about art, so it's a little subjective, but it doesn't have to be that. Like toys are made for different posabilities. I've always gravitated more towards the ultra posable figures, and with this being one, man, like I stand him right next to my 1983 Star Wars Rancor, and they look like a great pair. Big, bony, brownish gray monsters, perfect creatures of the night. And I think like with something like this crazy like rocks, bone spine coming out of these rocks, and they've made all this room over here, like they really sold it. And you can take a look at, bring them in closer. So what you can see is like they have really like started, like they made it look like they've made room for his spine, but also they didn't slouch on any one rock. Not one of piece of this character is smooth, right? It all screams texture. It all screams rock. It all screams, demented, like even weird rock protrusions down over here. You're like, what is all this gross, weird stuff? Must be part of his spine that fell down here. He's just a rockin' animal, and I love that about him. We'll talk a little bit about them feet over here, and then we'll wrap it up, right? So what you can start to see in those legs, and especially in here, is like, again, no detail was sacrificed. Everything has detail, has just some amazing looks to it, and I just over the moon with this character. He's got some great leg articulation, but also just features here. Like, you can try and isolate it there. And they're really skinny, right? Oop. So they're really skinny, but at the same time, they're just creepy and weird. Gross bone protrusion legs. And one thing that, really kind of gets me about this is, like, as we've gone from the front to the back, there's no sacrifice of detail anywhere from McFarlane. Like, he put the love into this character because ultimately it's his creation. And hell yeah, that's awesome. As an artist, that really, like, speaks to me and inspires me. So one last thing I wanted to get to before we get out of here is the horn. And how creepy and gross. Oh, there he goes. Like I said, I told you. Just how creepy and gnarly and gross this horn is of his. Is. And there you can see it. Like, it's just like, ugh. It's gross. It's gnarly. I love it. I love all, like, the pock marks, and, like, it just looks like it's, like, when it came out, like, all the texture that was up top of it kind of slimed over it and boiled onto this horn and just left it there. And man, how cool! What a great, awesome figure. This is one of the figures I keep out I'll be keeping out for Halloween every year. Like, I kind of change my action figures and my decoration, of course, for Halloween. My favorite time of the year, as sure as all yours. That's why I'm doing the Spooktacular, Spooktober, or whatever I feel like I'm branding it this week. And that's our friend Violator. So last thing I'm going to do, zoom in, zoom out. So I want to get some size comparisons in here, right? So we'll take another former friend, Mr. Scareglow, and just show you. I'm going to pull on out, because like I said, he big boy. He's like a big Nordic champion, and you're like, wow. And Scareglow's a dude from New Jersey. He's massive. They both look great together, don't they? Just awesomely rock and roll evil. We love them. You also see, like, I brought in an old friend from the Toy Biz days. Finding out right now, this is a holy grail for a lot of folks. But Mr. Giant Man. And so you can see, like, the Giant Man is still a good couple inches larger. So they're not totally, it's not totally massive. But that's what, like a 12, 15-inch figure? Somewhere in there. So he's a little bit taller but the Violator's hunched over beast monster. So, yeah, super awesome, right? One last time, let's take these bad mamma jammas out. Come back on out. So you've seen 6-inch. He's about like 12 inches, 11, something like that, maybe 10. I actually didn't measure him. I'll measure him and let you know afterwards how large he is. So that's our Violator, 1990 whatever to like 2021. One hell of an upgrade. If you see this out in the wild, grab it. I have not seen many of them. When I picked one up, I felt like I was pretty lucky because I haven't seen him anywhere else since. I only see him at Target, but I know, like, he's out there in Best Buys and GameStop. Sure, Walmart. I'm sure at some point. God knows, it is a drought. Hopefully, there'll be more of them down the line, and you should totally grab them. And for Spooktober, this is the Violator, dude. Violator, right? Cool. I just love this figure. His whole theme of like Rocky, pachyderm, being from hell. So cool. And what a perfect time to talk about a hell-bound, hell-raised figure from the depths of below. So cool. I love him. He is going to be top tier on this display I have to my right here. We'll do a little apartment tour here of my my sweet setup next outside of all my Marvel Legends and wrestlers here. So I hope you enjoyed it. This was the Violator. Go find him, track him down, order him online. He is a bad mamma jamma. One of my favorite toys of 2021, honestly. So stoked I found him. I still need to find a clown. So, with that said, of course, like, comment, subscribe. I also do this on TikTok as well. Crazy times, but I'm really enjoying it because they're short little snippets. I did a Goliath video pretty recently over on my TikTok, which is just the same as our YouTube, Toy Art Show. Go find me on there. Find us on Instagram, us being me. I have a Twitter as well. Follow along. I'll have all those links in the comments. And coming up next, finally getting there, friends. I had a few people ask me, and we're going wrestling. It's going to be fiendish, if you know what I mean. Yes. And then, October 31st, Halloween. I have a little treat for y'all. A double treat. A twofer, if you will. Who could he be talking about? Halloween Retro? Little House of Horror from a favorite TV show we all had growing up. Or if you didn't grow up with it, it's fine. Anyways, Toy Art, thank you so much for stopping by. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video. Get people to follow us. I want more people talking about toys to engage with us. So again, as always, thank you so much. Have a great week, friends. And if you do not subscribe to our channel, I don't think the Violator sounds like this, but we do have ways for you to subscribe and see our playlists right over here. You will find yourself doomed.